Hello everybody, this is Harry. Wanted to do a video on the films that I think are the essential Buster Keaton films, at least the 6 essential films. There's um, other ones that he had done that are great, but these are the ones I like personally, and then maybe it can help if you're just getting into Buster Keaton, maybe this will help you make a decision on what films to watch. So the first one I'm going to have is a movie called The Navigator, which is my Kino copy here, Blu-ray, and it was directed by Buster Keaton, and I'm going to cover myself up here, and stars as his leading lady Catherine McGuire, and basically he's a rich guy who lives in a nice mansion, and when he wants to get married, he feels incomplete. So he figures the best thing to do is go across the street and ask the girl, the neighbor next door, if she wants to get married. She does not. So she was going on a cruise, so he figures he can get, convince her by going on this cruise. They both get on the wrong ship, and well, a lot of fun ensues on it. A lot of great stunt work in it, and my favorite part is when he puts on the diving suit and going underneath in the ocean. A lot of good comedy here. The Navigator from 1924. The next one I have is number 5, Our Hospitality. Figure this out here. Released in 1923. This is the Blu-ray by Kino. This is actually my favorite Buster Keaton film of all time, because it was actually the first one I've seen. It wasn't a short. This was the first feature film that I've seen on PBS, American Masters. I think it was something back in the 80s. And it was directed by Buster Keaton and John Blystone. His leading lady in here happened to be his wife, Natalie Talmadge. His father plays in here a trained engineer. His name is Joe Keaton. His son, Joe Junior, was played in here, played Buster as a baby. And then the famous Joe Roberts in this played in the film as well. And it's sort of like the feud, the Hatfields and McCoys, and it's the Canfields and the McKays fighting. And Buster Keaton goes to New York, or lives in New York after his mother left this town, and he goes back because he'd inherited a house, and he thought it was a mansion or a plantation or such. When he goes back, he finds out that's not the case. It's an old rundown shack, and then he meets the girl, Natalie Talmadge, on the way there, falls in love, but it happens to be the family that they had the feud with, and they want to kill him. The brothers and the father wants to kill him, so they wouldn't kill him in this house because of respect, hospitality. But anyways, it's a great film, a lot of great stunt work. The chase scene in the mountains is great. So you might want to check this one out. It's called Our Hospitality. The next one I have is another favorite of mine. It's from 1925, and it's called 7 Chances. This has been remade sometime in the 90s. It was called The Bachelor. But anyways, Buster Keaton, like I said, came out in 1925. Was directed by Buster Keaton. The leading lady in this movie was Ruth Dwyer, and it also stars Snitz Edwards and Ray Barnes. And Buster Keaton has to inherit some money, and he has to be married, $7 million. He has to get married by 7 o'clock that night, and the girl he wants to marry doesn't want to marry him. So his buddy puts an ad in the paper, that he's looking to be married, and then winds up being chased by thousands of brides down the streets of Los Angeles because they want to marry him for his money, not because of who he is. But anyways, this has a Technicolor scene in the front, very beginning of the movie, earliest form of Technicolor, and this is the Kino restored edition on Blu-ray. You want to check it out? It's very funny. 7 Chances. Number 3 is Sherlock Junior from 1924, and it's directed by Buster Keaton. His lead lady is Catherine McGuire, and also stars Ward Crane. On this Kino DVD or Blu-ray edition, it also has the 3 Ages as well. It's a double feature Blu-ray, and the 3 Ages is actually a parody of the movie by D.W. Griffith called Tolerance. So that is a pretty funny film. But Sherlock Junior is even funnier. One of his classics, where he works as a movie projectionist and falls asleep in dreams of being in the picture in the movie, and a lot of things happen. And of course, there's always a leading lady and there's a lady involved in this film. But anyways, it's a great film that you really need to check out if you've never watched Buster Keaton. Next film, number 2, is from 1928, and it's Steamboat Bill Jr. And it was directed by Buster Keaton and Charles Reisner. My daughter just running by here. And stars Marion Byron as his leading lady, and also stars Ernest Torrance as his father. And Buster is college pudding, pretty much, and shows up to learn how to be a steamboat with his father, steamboat captain with his father. Famous scene from this here is the house. You've probably seen it in a lot of documentaries, or I've seen it in commercials as well, is where Buster Keaton's standing there and the house falls on top of him through the window. He stands through the window. The hurricane scene, which is an awesome scene. With his bed, the building's falling apart and his bed's rolling through the streets, and then he's hanging onto a tree and flying through the air. Just a lot of great stunts in this film. Definitely a classic. Steamboat Bill Jr., my number 2 pick from 1928. And of course, everybody should know the number 1 Buster Keaton film, the most essential film to watch, which was a box office flop for him back in 1927, was The General. Now is considered a classic, his best film. Again, this is the Kino version, Blu-ray, the first one that was released on Blu-ray from Kino. Excellent picture quality, and there's not much you can say about this film because everybody pretty much knows about it. That he, basically tries to join the Confederate Army because he's a railroad engineer. They say he was more essential being an engineer than he was to be in the Army, and they thought he chickened out. The family thought he chickened out, so the girl didn't know how to marry him. So he comes up against some Union soldiers that are robbing a train, and he saves the day. And there's a chase scene, the great scene on the train where the Union Army's chasing him on one train, and he's shooting cannons at him, and the bridge blows up, and the train falls into the river. But anyways, that's The General from 1927, my number 1 pick, essential Buster Keaton film. Now, the honorable mention that didn't make the top 6, but could have been easily number 7, and this is bought and used from the library. It was from the Keaton collection, The Cameraman from 1928, which would be his first film that he did with MGM. And and actually his last great silent film. He did another one after this. I think it was called Spite Marriage. It was okay. It was funny, but it wasn't as great as The Cameraman. He lost all control of his movies, and he had to follow whatever MGM did. There's a great documentary here on this set here with Buster Keaton and MGM. Well, I hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully it's helpful to you. If you please leave some comments, give me some likes or dislikes, whatever. And I appreciate you watching. Thank you.